Hello and welcome to Rain and Dread. Whether you're here to fall asleep to something unsettling, or you're wide awake and looking for a story that'll make you think twice about your next night shift, you're in the right place. Before we begin, I want to know, how was your day, or your night, depending on when you're listening to this? Are you winding down after a long shift? Trying to escape into something darker than your own thoughts? Whatever brought you here, I'm glad you found us. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Here at Rain and Dread, we specialize in stories that stay with you. The kind that make you check your locks one more time. The kind that make you wonder what's following you home. And if you've been here before, if you're one of our regulars, welcome back. We've been waiting for you. If you enjoy what you hear tonight, consider subscribing. Hit that notification bell. We release new stories every week, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. But for now, let's turn down the lights, let the rain take over, and let me tell you about Alex Reeves, about the night shift that changed everything, about something that follows you home. I quit my job 3 days ago, not because of the pay, not because of the hours, but because I finally understood what was waiting for me in my apartment. And it's still there. This started 6 months ago. Every night shift. Without fail, something follows me home. I'm recording this because I need someone to know what happened, in case it doesn't stay in the apartment. My name is Alex Reeves. I'm 28 years old, and this is what I saw. 6 months ago, I was just trying to pay rent. The job seemed easy enough. Overnight security at Mercy Hill Medical Records Facility. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., 3 nights a week. Wednesdays, Fridays, Sundays. The pay was decent. $42 an hour. Night shift differential. The building used to be Mercy Hill Hospital back in the 60s. 4 stories of red brick and narrow windows. They closed it in 1987. Converted it to storage for medical records 2 years later. Patient files, death certificates, insurance claims. Boxes stacked floor to ceiling in climate-controlled rooms. My job was simple. Walk the floors every hour, check the doors, make sure the temperature regulators were working. Document everything in the logbook. Most nights, I was completely alone. The first time I felt it, I thought it was exhaustion. Just that weight you feel when you've been awake too long. When your eyes start playing tricks. When shadows seem to move in your peripheral vision. I'd been on the job 3 weeks. Same routine every shift. Arrive at 10:45, relieve the evening guard, start my rounds at midnight. The building made noises, old structures do. The heating system clanked, pipes groaned. Sometimes I'd hear what sounded like footsteps on the floor above me, but when I checked, there'd be nothing. Just rows of filing cabinets and boxes. I told myself it was normal. It was a Wednesday morning, March 14th. My shift ended at 7, like always. I remember the sun was just coming up when I locked the front entrance. That gray kind of dawn where everything looks washed out. I got in my car, a 2015 Honda Civic, gray, nothing special, and started my drive home. Same route every time. Left out of the parking lot onto Industrial Drive. Straight for 2 miles. Right onto Berkshire Avenue, then another mile to my apartment complex. At the red light on Berkshire and Thompson, I checked my rearview mirror. There was a car behind me. Dark sedan. Black or maybe deep blue. Hard to tell in that early morning light. The windows were tinted. Not illegally dark, but dark enough that I couldn't see who was driving. The light turned green. I went straight. The sedan went straight. I took my usual right onto Crescent Road. The sedan turned right. My apartment complex was another half mile. As I pulled into the parking lot, I glanced in the mirror again. The sedan was still behind me. It didn't pull into the lot right away. It paused at the entrance, just sitting there with the engine running. I parked in my usual spot, Building C, space 217. When I got out and grabbed my bag, I looked back. The sedan had pulled into a guest parking space near the front gate, just sitting there, engine still running. No one getting out. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, waiting to see if someone would emerge. A visitor. Someone lost. Someone on their phone. Nothing. I told myself it was a coincidence. Someone visiting a resident. Someone who lived here that I'd never met. The complex had 200 units. I went inside. I should have paid attention to what happened next. My apartment was on the second floor. Unit 2H. 1 bedroom, kitchen, living room, 600 square feet. I'd lived there for 2 years. I was exhausted. 12 hours on your feet will do that. I dropped my bag by the door, kicked off my boots, went straight to the kitchen to make coffee. Just needed enough caffeine to eat something before crashing. The coffee maker gurgled. I leaned against the counter, eyes half closed, listening to it brew. That's when I heard the footsteps. In the hallway outside my apartment. Slow, deliberate. Heavy footfalls on the carpeted floor. They came from the direction of the stairwell. I could track the sound as they moved closer. Past 2E, past 2F, past 2G. Then they stopped. Right outside my door. I straightened up, listening. My apartment was quiet except for the coffee maker. I waited for a knock. Maybe a neighbor needed something. Maybe someone had the wrong unit. No knock came. The footsteps didn't continue down the hall. They just stopped. Like someone was standing there, waiting. I walked to the door as quietly as I could. My peephole had one of those wide-angle lenses that showed the entire hallway. I looked through it. The hallway was empty, completely empty. Beige carpet, beige walls, fluorescent lights humming overhead. Doors to 2G and 2J on either side. No one there. But I could smell something. Sharp, metallic, like the air right after a lightning strike. Like, oh. I stopped dismissing it as coincidence on Sunday night. That was my third shift of the week. I arrived at Mercy Hill at 10:45 p.m., just like always. But this time, I brought my phone with a full charge and made sure the camera was ready. If the sedan showed up again, I was going to document it. My shift felt longer that night. Every hour I did my rounds, but I kept thinking about the morning, about the drive home. I checked the parking lot through the 4th floor windows 3 times. My car sat alone under the sodium lights. Gray paint looking orange in the glow. At 6:58 a.m., 9 minutes before my shift ended, I looked out the window one more time. The sedan was there, parked in the same spot as Friday, 3 spaces from my car. I'd checked that lot at 6:30 during my last round. It hadn't been there then. 28 minutes. That's all it took to appear. I grabbed my phone and took photos through the window. Then I went downstairs, signed out in the logbook, and walked to my car. As I passed the sedan, I held up my phone and took 3 more pictures. The license plate, the driver's side window, the rear window. No one was inside. I was sure of it this time. I got in my car and pulled up the photos immediately, before I even started the engine. The first 2 photos from the 4th floor window were fine. You could see the sedan clearly. Dark blue, I could tell now in better light. Older model, maybe 15 years old. But the close-up shots. The license plate was blurred. Not like motion blur. I'd held the phone steady. It was blurred like someone had smeared Vaseline over just that part of the image. The letters and numbers were completely illegible. The window shots were the same. Blurred, distorted, like looking through frosted glass. I took 3 more photos. Same result. My hands started shaking. I put the car in reverse and left the parking lot faster than I should have. The sedan followed me home. Same routine, staying back, other cars between us. This time I tried something different. At a red light, I held up my phone and took a photo through my rearview mirror. When I looked at the screen, the sedan in the background was just a dark smudge, like a watercolor painting left in the rain. When I got to my apartment, I sat in the parking lot and called building security. A woman named Denise answered. I'd seen her at the front desk a few times. I asked her if the hallway cameras on the 2nd floor were working. "Let me check," she said. I heard keyboard clicks. "Oh, looks like those have been out for 3 months? It says here maintenance was supposed to replace them, but it's been back ordered." 3 months. "What about the parking lot cameras?" I asked. "Those work fine. You need to report something?" I looked at the guest parking spaces near the gate. Empty. "No," I said. "Never mind." That night, technically Sunday afternoon, since I slept during the day, I set up a plan. I charged my phone to 100%. checked the battery health. 94% capacity, which was normal for a 2-year-old phone. I set it to airplane mode to preserve battery, opened the camera app to video mode, and propped it on a small tripod I'd bought for vacation photos. I positioned it inside my apartment, pointing at the door. Then I angled it so the peephole was visible in the frame. If someone stood outside, if that doorknob turned again, the camera would catch it. I set it to record and went to bed. When I woke up at 4 p.m., the phone was dead, completely drained. The screen wouldn't even turn on. I plugged it in and waited for it to boot up. When it finally powered on, I checked the recording. 2 hours and 6 minutes of footage. The timestamp showed it started recording at 8:47 a.m. and ended at 10:53 a.m. I fast-forwarded through it. The door never opened. The doorknob never moved. Nothing appeared in the frame. Just 2 hours of an empty door. But the battery had drained from 100% to 0 in those 2 hours. In airplane mode, recording should use maybe 30% battery in that time, 40% at most. I checked the battery usage and settings. The camera app showed 98% battery consumption, and that's not possible. Not in 2 hours. Something had drained it. Something the camera couldn't see. I didn't work again until Wednesday. 3 days to think about what was happening. 3 days to convince myself I was losing my mind. By the time my next shift started, I'd almost talked myself down. Bad luck with photos, faulty battery, coincidences about the sedan. But when I arrived at Mercy Hill at 10:45 p.m., I saw Marcus in the parking lot. Marcus Webb, senior security guard. He'd been working the facility for 15 years, mostly day shifts. Mid-50s, gray beard, the kind of guy who seemed tired even when he was smiling. He was getting into his truck when I pulled up. I parked next to him and rolled down my window. "Hey, Marcus, you got a second?" He looked at me through his driver's side window. Even in the dim light, I could see his expression change. Like he already knew what I was going to ask. "What's up, Alex? You ever notice anything weird about this place?" After hours? He went very still. His hand stayed on the steering wheel, but he didn't turn the key. "Weird how?" I tried to keep it vague. Just things that don't add up. Things that feel off. Marcus stared straight ahead through his windshield. For almost 10 seconds, he didn't respond. Then, "You live alone, right?" The question hit me wrong, too specific, too direct. "Yeah," I said slowly. "Why?" He exhaled through his nose, still wouldn't look at me. 3 people quit this shift in the last 2 years, he said. Night security. Same shift you're working now. All of them quit without notice. Just stopped showing up. What happened to them? Don't know. Didn't stay in touch, but before they left, he finally turned to look at me. His eyes were careful, measuring. They all said the same thing. My chest felt tight. What did they say? Nah. Marcus's jaw worked like he was chewing on the words before he let them out. They said something followed them home. The parking lot felt colder. The sodium lights seemed dimmer. Did you believe them? I asked. It didn't matter if I believed them. They believed it. That was enough to make them quit. Do you know their names? 2 of them, yeah. Miguel Torres, he left about 18 months ago. And Sarah Chen. She quit last June. Sarah Chen. The name stuck. Did Sarah leave anything behind? Like in her locker? Marcus's expression shifted. How would you know that? I don't. I'm asking. He studied me for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a key ring, removed one small key and handed it to me through the window. Locker 7 in the break room. She never cleaned it out. Maintenance keeps meaning to drill the lock, but he shrugged. That key's a spare. Don't tell anyone I gave it to you. What's in there? I don't know, never looked. But Sarah asked me something before she left. He put his truck in gear. She asked if I'd ever noticed that some people stay and some people leave. She said the ones who stay are the ones who don't look too close. Marcus, have you ever... I work day shift, Alex. I don't see what you see. He started to roll up his window, then stopped. But I've worked here 15 years, and I've never once volunteered for night rotation. He drove away. I sat in my car for 5 minutes, holding the small key in my hand. Then I went inside. The break room was on the first floor. fluorescent lights, vending machines. 6 lockers against the far wall, the kind with combination locks from high school. Locker 7 had a keyhole beneath the combination dial. I slid Marcus's key in and turned. The lock clicked open. Inside, a light jacket on a hook, an empty coffee mug, and a folded piece of notebook paper tucked into the mug. I pulled out the paper and unfolded it. Sarah's handwriting was neat, precise. The note was short. "Don't let it know you notice." That was all it said, 4 words. No context, no explanation. My hands started shaking as I read it again. Don't let it know you notice. But I had noticed. I'd taken photos, I'd set up cameras. I'd watched the sedan follow me. I'd listened to the footsteps outside my door. I'd acknowledged it. For weeks. I folded the note and put it in my pocket, closed the locker, locked it again. As I walked toward the stairwell to start my rounds, I felt it. That weight. That pressure. The feeling of being watched. I looked back at the break room. The lights flickered once. And that night, I heard it for the first time inside my apartment. My shift ended at 7 a.m., same as always. The sedan was waiting in the parking lot. I didn't even bother taking photos this time. It followed me home through every turn. I stopped trying to lose it. When I parked at my apartment complex, I was so exhausted I could barely think. 12 hours on my feet. The weight of Sarah's note in my pocket. The knowledge that 3 other people had quit because of this. I walked to my apartment in a daze. Inside, I locked the door, chained it, threw my bag on the couch, and went straight to bed without eating. I fell asleep within minutes. I woke up at 2:14 p.m. Not because of an alarm, not because I'd slept enough, because of the breathing. It was in my living room, wet, ragged, like lungs filled with fluid, like someone drowning on dry land. Each breath was labored, a rattling inhale, a gurgling exhale. I was frozen in bed, every muscle locked. My eyes were open, but I couldn't move my head to look at the bedroom door. The breathing continued, steady, rhythmic, wrong. Then I heard the footsteps, from the living room into the hallway that led to my bedroom. Slow, heavy, the same footsteps I'd heard outside my apartment door. But this time they were inside. The footsteps moved closer. I could hear them clearly. The slight wet sound each step made, like walking through shallow water, like something leaving damp prints on my carpet. They reached my bedroom door, stopped. I couldn't see the door from my position. My bed faced the window, and the door was behind me. But I could see the wall opposite the door, and I watched as a shadow appeared on that wall. Long, stretched, the shape of something standing in my doorway. The breathing continued, that awful wet rattle. I tried to move, tried to turn my head, sit up, reach for my phone on the nightstand. My body wouldn't respond. It was like sleep paralysis, but I was awake, fully conscious, just unable to move. The shadow didn't move, neither did I. I started counting. It was the only thing I could do. 1, 2, 3. The shadow stayed 20, 21, 22. The breathing never changed, never stopped. 60, 61, 62. My eyes started to water from not blinking. I finally managed to blink, and when I opened my eyes again, the shadow was still there. 200, 201, 202. At count 547, the shadow moved. Not forward, not toward me. Backward, slowly. Like whatever cast it was retreating down the hallway. The breathing faded. The footsteps resumed, moving away now. Back through the hallway, through the living room. Then I heard it, my apartment door, the handle turning, the deadbolt sliding open, the chain rattling, the door opened, the door closed. The lock clicked back into place. The moment I heard the lock, my body released. I gasped and sat up, immediately turning to look at the bedroom door. It was open, just slightly, maybe 6 inches. I'd closed it before going to bed. I always closed it. I grabbed my phone, 3:11 p.m. 57 minutes had passed. The shadow had stood in my doorway for almost an hour. I forced myself out of bed and walked to the living room on shaking legs. Everything looked normal. Couch, TV, kitchen beyond, nothing disturbed. I went to the apartment door, The deadbolt was locked. The chain was secured, both locks, just like I'd left them. Whatever had been inside, it had locked the door behind itself when it left. From the inside, I didn't sleep again that day. I sat on my couch with every light in the apartment on, researching. Mercy Hill Hospital, the building where I worked. I needed to know what it was before they converted it to record storage. The search results came quickly. Mercy Hill Hospital, built 1962. Closed 1987 due to funding cuts. 4 stories. Capacity for 120 patients. General medical care on floors 1 and 2. Surgical wing on floor 3. And a psychiatric ward in the basement. I clicked deeper. Found a local history blog that had digitized old newspaper articles. Most of it was routine. Hospital opening, staff additions, community health programs. Then, I found an article from May 1971. Psychiatric patient dies in police shooting after escape. The article was brief. A patient named Martin Keogh, 34, had escaped from the psychiatric ward at Mercy Hill Hospital on May 18, 1971. Police located him 3 days later, and during an altercation, he was shot and killed. The article mentioned he'd been committed for acute paranoid delusions and violent episodes. There was a quote from the hospital administrator. Mr. Keogh's condition had deteriorated rapidly over the past month. He claimed he was being followed by an unseen presence. Staff reported he would speak to empty rooms and became agitated when alone. I read it again. He claimed he was being followed. I clicked through more search results. Found a deeper article in the archives of the county newspaper. This one had more details. Martin Keogh worked the night shift at County Memorial's morgue before his admission to Mercy Hill. He'd reported to his supervisor that he felt accompanied during his shifts. That something watched him work, that he could hear breathing in empty rooms. His supervisor noted erratic behavior. Keogh began talking to himself. Would turn suddenly as if someone had called his name. Started refusing to be alone in the morgue. After 3 weeks, he attacked a coworker, claiming they were letting it in. He was involuntarily committed to Mercy Hill's psychiatric ward. He escaped 4 weeks later. According to the police report, he was found trying to burn down County Memorial's morgue. He told officers, "It won't stop following me until I destroy where it began." They shot him when he refused to drop the container of gasoline. I sat back on my couch, phone screen glowing in my hands. Martin Keogh worked night shift at a morgue. He processed death. I worked night shift at a medical records facility. I processed death certificates. Every night I walked past filing cabinets filled with death records, patient deaths, accident deaths, every kind of death you could document on paper. My hands started shaking again. I opened a new search, Mercy Hill Hospital basement. Found old floor plans submitted to the city in 1962. The basement level showed the psychiatric ward, a storage area, and a morgue. The hospital had its own morgue, standard for facilities in that era. When they converted the building to medical records storage, they sealed off most of the basement. Too expensive to renovate. They only used the first 4 floors. But the morgue was still down there, closed off, forgotten. I thought about my job, walking those floors every night, checking rooms filled with death records, processing paperwork about people who died. Every shift, I was surrounded by death. And every shift, something followed me home. I finally understood what it wanted, but I didn't understand why it chose me. 3 people had quit this shift before me. Miguel, Sarah, one more whose name I didn't know. What made night shift at Mercy Hill different? What made working with death records in that building create this? I looked at the article about Martin Keogh again, read the last paragraph. Keogh is survived by his brother Thomas Keogh, 29, of Marion County. No services are planned. I searched for Thomas Keogh, found an obituary from 2019. Thomas Keogh died at age 77, survived by 2 daughters and 5 grandchildren. The obituary mentioned he worked for the county for 40 years, in medical records, management. I dropped my phone, Thomas Keogh, Martin's brother. He worked in medical records. Martin worked in a morgue. Thomas worked in medical records. Both jobs dealing with death. The thing that followed Martin Had it moved to his brother? Had Thomas felt it too? Is that why he stayed in medical records his whole life? Because he knew what would happen if he worked anywhere else? I picked up my phone and searched one more time. Sarah Chen, night shift security guard, quit last June. Found her LinkedIn profile, updated 3 months ago. Current position, administrative assistant at a law firm. Daytime hours, Miguel Torres, another search. His Facebook was public. Latest post from 2 weeks ago, a photo with his family at a birthday party. The caption mentioned his new job, grocery store manager, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shifts. They'd both moved to day jobs that had nothing to do with death. They'd escaped it, but I was still working night shift, still walking those halls, still processing death records. And now it was inside my apartment. I looked at the time, 8:47 p.m. I had to leave for work in 2 hours. Every part of me wanted to quit, to call Marcus and tell him I wasn't coming back, to do what Sarah and Miguel did and just walk away. But Sarah's note kept echoing in my head. Don't let it know you notice. I'd already broken that rule. I'd noticed. I'd documented. I'd researched. It knew I was paying attention. And now I had to go back to work. Back to the building where it all started. Have you ever felt like something was targeting you specifically? Like it chose you for a reason? That night I found out why it chose me, and I wish I hadn't.